TBS podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek, our presenting sponsor. Since 1981, find the best tickets for sporting events, music, wrestling, opera, March Madness, you name it. What better way to grab bargain tickets for NHL and NBA teams that are already out of the running? And soccer. Are there any more qualifiers, Steve Nash?
Not for a few months.
Okay. Well, when the qualifiers come, you can do SeatGeek. I have SeatGeek on my phone, by far the easiest way to shop for the best tickets thanks to the revolutionary grading system. Everything is fully guaranteed. Try it out. Download the SeatGeek app today or go right to SeatGeek.com. We are also brought to you by TuneIn. Major League Baseball finally back as the new season gets underway. The Ringer Podcast Network has baseball fans covered with the Ringer MLB show playing exclusively on the TuneIn app for the month of April. TuneIn has radio broadcasts for MLB, basketball, hockey. It's amazing. I get to listen to my Celtics announcers.
I actually checked it out recently.
It's good.
Yeah, it is.
I like hearing my announcers because they get mad about the calls like I get mad, so I feel like I'm living vicariously through them. On top of that, the Ringer Podcast Network has partnered with TuneIn to give baseball fans a free 30-day trial of TuneIn Premium to listen to every live home call from every MLB game around the league. Catch the Ringer MLB show only on TuneIn during April. And with your premium subscription, you can listen to live MLB games on TuneIn. Just go to TuneIn.com/Ringer and subscribe. Download the TuneIn app. Start listening today. TuneIn, your everything audio app. And one last thing, the Channel 33 podcast. We had Reese Witherspoon Day on the Ringer. Yeah, we did a podcast on the Channel 33 about her career. Do you like Big Little Lies? Some good Monterey footage.
Yeah, great Monterey footage. Yeah. That's like the star of the show.
But if you love Reese Witherspoon, on your ride home, you can listen to our Reese Witherspoon podcast. All right, Pearl Jam, let's bring him in. Steve Nash coming up right now. All right, the two-time MVP, I was texting him last week, and every time I see the way basketball is played now, and there's a point guard just doing his thing with the floor spread, I just think to myself, Steve Nash must be watching this and just getting sad and bummed out. Wait, have you come to grips with this? You were like 10 years early. You would have gone nuts.
I like it. You
like it. You're not
jealous. I'm not. No, I'm a guy that came to basketball at 13 years old, had one scholarship offer, and played till I was 40. So
you did play till you're 40.
And so I feel like I drenched every bit of sweat I could out of it and enjoyed it. And I'm happy for these guys that get to play in a game that's open and free. I think it's a great game. I think the game is at one of the peaks of its history.
Yes.
The way it's played, the amount of talent, athleticism. You could make a lot of criticisms about it, and I would understand that, but I think it's fantastic, and I love to see the guys wild and free and playing.
Of the teams, of your best teams, so I would say, what was the year Dirk got hurt? 02 Mavs?
Yeah. Was that 02? Yeah, 02, because 03.
That team was good. 02, 03 Mavs era, and then the 05, 06, 07 Suns, and then the 2010 Suns. I think those were your six best teams. Which of those teams were built the best for right now, 2017? Because they all had pieces of it in those teams.
It's a good question. I've never really thought about that. I mean, the Dallas one seems so long ago that I don't even think about it. It's like, and they had so much success after that team kind of changed, and then we had success. So I never really go that far back. But I think that team might have been a little young. Like Dirk and I both were a little, maybe, let's say, a little early in our careers but we would have been successful in this type of play.
When you say early, does that mean from just like getting the crunch time reps or going through the or just that you didn't know the work ethic yet?
No, we always had the work ethic. We always had the work ethic. And I think, as a matter of fact, you kind of had to be smarter about your work as you get older. But I think we just, that know-how and the games, know how to win games. And we were doing it. We'd gotten ourselves to the conference finals in Dallas, but I still think we had more improvement to make there before we really knew what we were doing. And, we both went on to do it, so to speak, in the future. But neither of us, I think, were quite in our prime yet at that stage.
The 05 Suns, that one had Joe. Quinn Richardson, a really good year from him.
Yeah.
I don't think Raja was there yet, but you had Amari at his athletic apex.
Yeah, our starting five was great. We were a little thin on the bench, but man, we were running people out of the building, and that team too was all new. Like LeBron's first year in Miami, his first year back in Cleveland. Like some of these teams, these super teams, it'll be interesting for Golden State, especially with Kevin coming back late. That first year, because you get in the playoffs, the intensity, the adversity, the crowd, whatever it is, you have to have that knowing look amongst each other.
Yeah.
I've been here, but we've been here before collectively, and we're good. Instead of that look like, am I? Are you? Where are we?
Right.
And so I think that's what happened to LeBron against Dallas. That team. I think that's in some ways what happened to. They were injured as well against Golden State his first year back in Cleveland, but they're new teams. And when you get in that deep in the playoffs, and there's tons of adversity, and you're fighting up a mountain, you need those common experiences.
2010. Which wasn't the best Suns team you were on, but that team had more of the continuity, and I think that's a good example of that really helped you that year. And you guys, nobody remembers this now, but the ridiculous Kobe airball that Artest just made one of the best plays of his career and somehow got the offensive rebound in. But I think you guys could have won that series. I do feel like that was like a coin flip.
We could have won that series for sure. And that team wasn't maybe as explosive, but it was more balanced, more experienced, a little tougher maybe mentally. I think Amari also turned a corner the last 3 months of that season, and of course he goes, and rightfully so, goes to the Knicks. But more than that, Amari kind of turned a corner on just being aware defensively, knowing when to come over and when not to come over, keeping his head on a swivel. Also offensively, we could go to him in the fourth quarter more because he would make better decisions. I think he got caught up in one-on-one battles earlier in his in those days where he would charge or turn it over on the layer of defense behind him. Yeah. But he started to register and kind of measure up what was happening. I'm going to beat my guy, so let's not get into it with my guy. Let's figure out what's happening behind me. He was better at that. He also got better at making the extra pass out of the pick and roll. Raja Bell or whoever was in the corner. Actually, Raja was on that team. His man's always coming in to take Amari on the roll, and he learned to make that corner pass, which made everything better. It just made us more difficult. Pick your poison for the defense, put a lot of pressure on them. So he was better. I also think the first two games in Staples we got hosed. Like we lost by 10, but literally we would have had to win by 25.
You can't get fined anymore. You can talk about this now. What are they going to say?
We were like, wow, we're getting, we're not, I think we're playing well. We're losing by 10 both nights. We go to Phoenix and kind of blow them out both games.
Yeah.
Come back, and then that's the game where Kobe shoots the air ball, I believe, and
the right corner.
Yeah, right.
I gotta say that was a phenomenal play by Artest.
It was.
It really was. It was a great basketball play.
We missed a box out, and that's it.
The guy in consecutive years made arguably the two biggest plays they had in both those playoffs. Because in 2000, that was the same year, 2010. Because he made a three against the Celtics in Game 7 with a minute left.
Yeah.
And as he was shooting it, and I was there, you could hear the Laker fans go, "No!" Yeah. Like it was like this, almost like a horror movie.
He was good for that. He was always good for that, like crazy play that just changed things, or like what's the word for it when you just there's no good logic behind what he's doing, but he knows he just does something. He hasn't made a three for a week, and then he makes two big ones, and it changes the game, right? Irrational confidence. So. He was good at that, and also he obviously, I think, intimidated people in a good way. To have that much lumber and just be hitting people and keeping people off balance. He definitely played his role.
I think the 2005 team was the one that had the best chance to win the title looking back, just because it was kind of a weird year for the league. Mm-hmm. The Spurs, Duncan was really banged up that year. The Spurs won anyway, but it wasn't like he wasn't lights out or anything. Yeah. And Manu and Parker was still a little early for them. They got Horry really saved them in the finals. Detroit was a very good team. That it was kind of a weaker talent pool, I think, 10 years ago than it is now. I don't know if Detroit would have been as dominant. I actually thought you guys had the most talent. But as you said, it was the new team.
Right.
And then Joe broke his face.
That hurt a lot. Yeah, he came back for the last game of the playoffs.
He wasn't the same.
And I actually think he played really well in that last game, but it was like too little, too late for our team. And I think they beat us 4-1. What year was that? It
was 4, but they were letting you score. They were trying to Jedi mind trick you and just shoot every game. Remember?
Pop.
Yeah, take your 40s. Take your 40s, Steve Nash. We don't want you setting anyone else up. That was good.
And he's great. He makes he makes players, not just me, but he makes you have your own little battle with yourself. Because I'm sitting over there wanting to pass, and he knows it.
Yeah.
And he knows that I'm kind of fighting myself. And I think I still played well and had success whenever I played the Spurs, but he's brilliant. He really is.
The 07 is the one everyone mentions.
The suspensions?
Spurs team, yeah, I thought that Spurs team was really good. I even thinking about it 10 years later, I mean, the suspensions were ludicrous.
Yeah.
I really hated that they did that. I still feel like the Spurs were really good that year. It would have been a task to beat them.
They were good. I still feel, and I don't look back like blaming or, you know, I'm like, we lost. Yeah. But, you know, if you want to break it down, I mean, we went home, I think, with a chance to go up 3-2.
Yeah.
And we missed Amari and Boris, and we were thin on the front line, and we were winning until the last minute at home and lost. And so
I don't remember that part.
Yeah,
it was close.
We I think we're up 3 in the last minute, and they hadn't had the lead until the last minute at least, and they beat us by 3 maybe. But so we hung on valiantly, but got beat, and then go back out there and they beat us. But you know, I like to think that team, if we had been able to get through the Spurs, had a pretty decent look at it. You know, I think that was Utah and then Cleveland. Maybe.
Yeah, a Cleveland team that had no business being in the finals.
Right, and Utah, I think we'd beaten Cleveland by 30 both times that year.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, not to say that means everything, but, you know, it means something.
It wasn't a great – you think about the talent now versus the talent 10 years ago. I don't know what the reasons are. They don't totally make sense. But there's no doubt. There's just more great players now, more very good players.
If you had to come up with some reasons, what would they be?
I've thought about this. I think part of it, I think the rookie scales really helped. And the fact that guys have to earn their contracts now versus when you were drafted, what were you, 98?
96. You could get like a $60 million deal.
Right. So 96, Antoine's in the league for 3 years. He gets $80 million.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they were just handing out giant contracts left and right. I think it really damaged the guys from that decade, and it made them, you know, it was also different. I don't think the NBA did as good a job of kind of preparing guys when they came in the league and things like that. And now you have, it's not just this generation, it's the LeBron generation. I think has been really good for the next generation because those guys, they handle their business off the court. I mean, it's not like you didn't, but a lot of people in your generation didn't, and they didn't take care of themselves off the court. And the LeBron generation, they have their business squared away off the court. Yeah, they're pros. They take care of their bodies, and I think these new guys come in, and they want to catch up to those guys, and they see what they do, and now it's like this.
Right, it's evolution in a way, right? Like that generation took it to another level. Now the next generation is taking it.
Yeah.
I also wonder if the specialization of sports has something to do with it. You know,
in a good way.
Yeah. Well, good and bad. I think in some ways it's bad.
Or you're talking about like youth sports.
Yeah, like I'm saying that NBA players nowadays have to choose basketball from the time they were 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe earlier they were playing different sports. So maybe you get guys you get more kind of talent in the NBA. But on the negative side, what I've been hearing is that when you see a 19, 20-year-old's MRI when he comes in the league, it's bad. It doesn't look like it did 20 years ago because guys were playing all sorts of different sports.
Yeah.
Now, I know that's a bit of a generalization, but it's something to consider, I think.
Well, think about it, especially if you're playing on cement. I think cement is just the death of.
But I don't think kids anymore play on cement. I really don't.
You think like during the summers they're playing on courts?
Sports is totally monetized, so it's all programmed. So whether it's monetized through an AAU coach, you know, or it's monetized through, you know, your parents buying you private lessons.
Yeah.
You know, at either end of the spectrum financially, I think it's been monetized, and so it's all programmed. Like you don't see like the parks. There's no kids playing pickup in the parks anymore. I grew up playing pickup outside, and it was important.
In the streets of Canada?
In the streets, man.
You put your mittens on?
In the streets and the rinks of Canada. But, you know, we'd always meet after school. You knew where there was parks, or we'd go to the university and play with the college team or college kids. And, you know, if you lose, you have to sit for a while. And that taught something different. Like, I think there's more talent in the league today, but I think there's also more specialists. Whereas you look back, I think think about the backup centers in the 80s. Like, they couldn't play in today's game, but they knew how to play. They knew how to set picks, to pass, to roll, to read and react, to post up, you know, things like that. Our you know, first of all, centers can't really play in our game anymore. But they
they can shoot threes.
Right, yeah.
It's got to be like Kelly Olynyk.
It's got to be like the fakest center of all time.
Yeah.
Be a stretch four. But so the game is just an evolution. Part of it's an evolution, part of it's a cycle. And, look, even the college games influence. Look at Oregon. They have the kid that's not really a big in Bell. He's mobile, 6'7". I don't know what he is, but he's kind of a mobile forward that plays, that guards the paint. They lost Boucher, but they had 4 playmakers around him. They're in the Final Four without their 6'10" shot blocking 3-point shooter. I don't know if that ever happens in previous eras where you just get 4 playmakers. They're all very good, but 4 playmakers around a 6'7" guy. College basketball, you usually get beat up on the glass, give up way too many offensive rebounds, and you get beat. But
we have Mark Titus writes college hoops for The Ringer for us, and he's just like, he always picks a team with a good point guard who can play defense.
Yeah,
he's like, that's college basketball. And so I was kind of watching for it this year, and it did seem like for the most part, those are the teams that advance. I've been really impressed by how the point guard position has evolved in all these different directions. I think your era, the point guard, there were basically 2 types. It was like the traditional point guard like you, and then there was like the Gilbert Arenas type point guard.
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot first, clear out, which kind of was the nephew of the Michael Jordan era. And now you have all these guys. Like, I guess Kyrie Irving's a point guard, but
right.
It's more like they're creators now.
Sure.
I don't even know if we should necessarily use the word point guard anymore. James Harden's not a point guard. He's just creates stuff.
Playmakers. I think in the purest sense of the word, there's not a lot of point guards because the positions change. So I don't even think it's worth arguing or saying, like, you're not a point guard. Who cares? Like, you're a playmaker. You make plays. It doesn't matter. Kyrie may not be a point guard in the purest sense of the word. But, like, ever since Gilbert and then, Derrick Rose even and Russell, those guys they just make plays. They just attack, and they put so much pressure on the defense with their overall game that, they have a huge influence on the game, obviously. And why do you need a pure point guard if you got a guy that's putting that much pressure on the defense?
With that said, then you see somebody like Lonzo, and you're like, oh yeah, that's what a point guard. Like you just, anytime they get a rebound, you just see the big guys like, where's Lonzo? I got to get it, and everybody else is running because they know they can get the ball. Miss that. There's
still room for pure point guards for sure.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like, if how many are there, and if not this guy, why would you take a pure point guard just for the sake of it? I think like even like, little examples, Lonzo's great, but the point guard in Philly, kid from Arizona, TJ McConnell. He's a pure point guard. He makes our team better. Yeah. I like watching Philly a little bit. And,
I do too.
And like he's kind of overmatched in a lot of ways, but he's smart, he's tough, and he can make plays. And he's a pure point guard, and there's still tons of value for that.
Well, how about Jameer Nelson? I think he was in your draft. Yeah. And he's still like on Denver. It's because he's just old school.
I don't think that was him when he came in the league.
No, I don't either.
He was the opposite, but now he's realized how to have longevity.
Yeah.
So, there's still a value in the pure point guard. There's just not a lot of them. I think Lonzo Ball, he's an interesting one because he has a feel and can read and make guys around him better. And I don't know. It's an argument that's tough.
The thing that I think that's cool about him is the pace that he has is just different. The rhythm of how what he's trying to do, the game usually kind of ends up taking the form of what he wants, which was what made the Kentucky game so interesting because Fox is such a freak athlete. And Fox was just like, I'm picking you up full court. I'm not giving you that pace.
Right.
You're gonna have to be compromised.
Sure.
And it worked.
Yeah.
And
I think he's part of his growth. He's just got to learn to be more aggressive.
I totally agree. I was upset at Lonzo because I'm like the biggest Lonzo fan. I just think he has it. And I was just like, just attack this guy.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Right. Yeah, he definitely, I think, he was a little, and I don't know if this is a trait of his, he was a little low energy and he wasn't aggressive enough. And I think he'll learn as he's a competitor, that he'll learn, like, I can't sit back. If things aren't going my way, I'm not getting a free wheel. I got to put my head down and get to the basket and make plays, get to the line, look for my shots.
How old were you when you realized how to do that at the highest level? You were like 23, 24?
Even at the NBA level, even a couple of years maybe later, like 26, 27. Nowadays kids are coming to the league so early, they're developing faster. In my day, I went 4 years, which sounds amazing, right?
Yeah.
But that was most half the guys went a full college term. So it was like, you learned at different paces, you earn things more. I mean, I still remember going in the gym my rookie year and AC Green kicking the balls all around the gym and telling me to go pick them up. Like, that's never happening today.
Right.
Kids being, I'm not picking them up.
Yeah.
Sorry. You know what I mean? And they're on a Twitter feed or something. And so it's just different. And
Twitter feed.
It's like, it's different and not all for bad. I'm not the guy that's like back in my day. I'm just saying, like, it's different and that's natural. And it's great for what it's great for. And we miss some of the things that we miss.
All right, let's take a quick break to talk about baseball. Red Sox fantasy. I'm pumped. Baseball is starting, and guess what? You need T-Mobile. They're giving away a free year of MLB.TV Premium. That's an almost $113 value, absolutely free, and only for T-Mobile customers. And oh yeah, here's the best part. With T-Mobile One, unlimited data means unlimited baseball. Unlimited data. Is it data or data, Tate? Data, thank you. You know I can't pronounce certain words. Unlimited data. Keep up with your favorite team from almost anywhere. Every pitch, every big moment, every walk-off homer. All without worrying about blowing up your phone bill. Stream, post, and share all things MLB. Here's how you get it. First, get T-Mobile, obviously. Second, download the T-Mobile Tuesdays app from the App Store. And third, this is important, on April 4th, get your free year of MLB.TV Premium through the T-Mobile Tuesdays app or go to T-Mobile.com/MLB. And we should mention top 3% of data users may notice reduced speeds, activate HD feature. Otherwise, videos typically streams at 480p, web-enabled mobile device and qualifying service required. MLB trademarks used with permission. Blackouts, other restrictions apply. See terms of use for details. Back to Steve Nash. One thing that happened in your career that I always thought was one of the strangest things, the strangest roster things in the history of the NBA, was for at least a year, you were on the same team with Jason Kidd and Kevin Johnson. And I think Jason Kidd, I haven't made my list of the greatest ever. I haven't done it in a while. Jason Kidd's in the top 40 ever, especially like the longevity he had. And he was, the best point guard in the league for 4 or 5 years in the early 2000s. And then KJ, didn't have the long career and had trouble staying on the court, but his apexes were way, way up there. Like he was just completely undefendable.
Yeah.
And then you're on that team too.
Yeah.
Was that good or bad for you?
Both. I mean, I think it would have been interesting if I had got a chance to play a lot early on, but it's the cards I was dealt, so I approached it the best way I could. And I think one of the best accomplishments of my career was my second year in the league. Was Danny Ainge played all three of us together, and I got to play like 22, 24 minutes a game. And for him to for me to earn those minutes, and largely because I had a coach that was like, screw it, I'm going to play all three of them. That was a huge accomplishment. And I put a ton of work in and thought look, I got two maybe Hall of Fame guys ahead of me, two kind of all-star caliber guys ahead of me. If I work hard though, I'm knocking on the door, and Danny rewarded me. And
did he play you all at the same time?
Yes.
The three were out there together.
Yes.
So what were you, like in the corner?
Yeah, but I mean, if you got the ball, go.
Right.
I mean, Danny was amazing to play for me. I remember I was a rookie, and I didn't have a big hype machine or anything.
Yeah.
If I dribbled down in front of our bench, he'd be like, take him. Like, no offense. He'd just be like, go, take him. Because he'd played one-on-one with me before practice every day and thought I was really good and believed in me, and he gave me that confidence. He didn't, hold me back, so. And I was lucky. So I could have been somewhere else where I got to play a ton, or I could have been with Danny, who still gave me a chance to earn minutes with those two guys, and he gave me a ton of confidence. He'd be like, go, attack, make plays. And so that was an amazing experience for me as well.
Was Kidd competitive with you? Because at that point, he'd only been in the league a couple of years. Didn't he think of you as competition?
Not really, because I hadn't really, I think, shown the levels that I went on to show early in Dallas. But I think he could see it. I remember that I was coming and I was gonna get there, but he was never competitive. We went back to our college days in the Bay Area, so we'd known each other and we're friends. But I remember Kevin Johnson saying to me, maybe my rookie year, he said to me one day in the locker room, he's like, you're as good as anybody, as good as anyone I've played with. And it meant a lot to me. Yeah. Because I didn't know that yet. I would try to go at those guys in practice, and And I think he saw enough. He's like, you have everything. You can do everything that anyone else can do. You just got to believe in yourself. And, that was important for me to see that someone that I thought was kind of unguardable was telling me that I could do whatever. So
I've told you this, but I remember seeing you in Boston once, went to the Celtics Suns during Chauncey's rookie year before Patino traded him after 50 games. And you torched Chauncey. And I was just like, this guy from Santa Clara? This guy's really, what the hell's going on? Like, I just didn't understand it. Like, you knew what you were doing. You could see it. And at that point, I think you were either a rookie. It was 97, so I guess you were second year.
It would have been either
the
second half of my rookie year.
But I was like, man, this guy. And then you then you were having back issues.
Well, actually, that didn't happen until Dallas. So I had two development years in Phoenix, and I think they realized we got Jason, who's our franchise point guard. We should trade Steve before he becomes a free agent and leaves. And so they traded me to Dallas.
What'd they get for you? Do you remember?
I can't remember. It was like, I think it was like,
I bet Dallas won the
I think they got a pick and like maybe Tony Dumas or something like that.
Congratulations. That's a great haul.
More, I can't
so
remember.
You went to Dallas, then you got hurt.
I went to Dallas, and it was the lockout, and we were playing a pickup game in like early January, and I went to the basket, got knocked out of the air, fell on my back, and my back was really bothering me, and I didn't really do much about it, but it hampered me that whole 50-game season. It really was hard on me, and then 10 games left in the year, we were, classic Nelly, we were playing dribble tag to warm up at shoot around one day.
What's dribble tag?
Like everyone's got a ball and you have to tag the other person. To get this is the NBA, folks. And I got back spasms. Never had them before in my life. I must have been, I don't know, 23, 24 maybe.
Yeah.
And I had to get wheeled out of the building. It was like, whoa.
Oh my God.
I was like, what's going on? Like literally couldn't walk for 2 days. Just freaked out. They told me I had this thing, spondylolisthesis, which is pretty common. I think like 20% of the population has it. But obviously in professional sports, it can be tricky. So, that was kind of like, that was when the back issue started. But it actually made me a better player because I met my physical therapist in Vancouver, who, helped me become a better athlete, helped me be really, really focused on being in shape and preventing injury and all that stuff. So I think in some ways it demanded a lot more of me.
When did you go all in on the dieting and stuff? I think that's one of your legacies is the dieting and the sleeping. You were like 5-6 years ahead of everybody.
I should open a restaurant chain, brand it.
You really, I'll never forget seeing Jared Dudley asking you what to order at Sundance and being like, oh my God, Nash even orders for his teammates. It's unbelievable.
JD, that's great. It was kind of an evolution. I think by the time there was a stage where late 90s, I still thought like a big heaping plate of pasta was good. And
at 11:30 at night,
or even before a game, and like, God, I was like, man, I have to eat an hour earlier because I still feel full at game time.
Yeah.
So you learn and learn and learn. And then, I think when I got to Phoenix, it was when I really realized just eat as many natural things as possible and less processed or
no sugar, right?
And cut out the sugars, which is a big,
Now everyone's doing it. You should be getting royalties from the entire league.
Sure.
People are in sleep chambers. You never had a sleep chamber.
No, but sleep was obviously. I realized that was one of the huge.
I remember
modules.
you told you might even maybe on my podcast 5-6 years ago, you had discovered napping, the power of napping. And that
I'm not a
thing.
great sleeper.
Yeah.
And I think that sleep, what I learned is that it's cumulative. It's kind of like and we're always overdrawn, and so any chance to get it back. So napping, I think, is good for that day, but it's also good cumulative over the course of a season. If you could nap every day or every game day, even, by the end of the year, you've put that much sleep back in your bank account for recovery and just clarity and all those things that you need to perform. So sleep's huge.
I know you love assessing the point guards as a whole. Are we in like the glory days of point guards right now? There's so many of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible.
The only interesting thing is that there's not a ton of pure points, but they're amazing point guards.
Yeah, I guess I should.
In that, just for argument's sake, there's no Jason Kidd really out there.
No.
But, I mean, man, you look around the league and think how many guys are so good.
Let me flip it around. Like, if you were playing now.
Yeah.
Just the night after night of, oh, man, this guy.
Yeah.
I got this guy.
Yeah, I think that's true, but I think it was about the same. You had the same situation. Maybe it's even better now, but it was so good the last kind of 10, maybe
Oh, that
6
2010,
years,
11?
of my career, it was like, it was the same deal. Maybe it's just even better now, but you still was like, wow, this position is the strongest position in the league all of a sudden. And
I remember you telling me early on with Westbrook, you were like, I don't like playing that guy.
Yeah,
that guy's I hurt after I played him.
We're in different categories of athleticism.
Yeah.
He's just such a great athlete, so physical, strong, explosive,
and relentless.
Relentless.
Yeah.
He's gotten better. He's smarter. He's a playmaker now. He wasn't early in his career. I think he was apt to make a lot of mistakes early in his career. Now he doesn't. Like the way he's played in the playoffs. He's overcome a lot of things to add that to his physicality.
I wrote a piece about him like 4 weeks ago about how I just thought he was doing too much. I think you can pass a point on a basketball team where when you're doing everything, it's actually bad for the other guys because then they're not thinking on their own and they're not, now I get to shoot. Yeah. And it's one of those things. And he's scaled it back the last few weeks. He's picking his spots more. And they're a really good rebounding team. Like they're at least a dangerous first-round opponent.
Yeah.
Because they can rebound, and because like in the Dallas game the other night, they're down by 10 with 2.5 minutes left, and he just scored all the points, scored 12 of the last 14 in 2 minutes, and just wins the game. That's why I wouldn't want to play them in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I mean but I think they're better when he relies on his teammates.
I do too.
No question. You can't in this league. You can't go through a season or a 7-game series and do everything. So I think, if he does relinquish more and more, there'll be a tough out.
Yeah.
But if he insists on doing it all, I don't think they'll be that difficult.
Yeah. It would seem like the right amount of shots, not that you'd be like, I can only take 20, but when he's in that 18 to 21 range and Oladipo has 12 shots and Adams has 8 and it's all spring, Cantor comes in, that's when I think they become dangerous. Yeah. Who do you think is the best team out of the ones you watch?
Period.
Yeah, who would you bet on if you?
Canadians
aren't allowed to bet, but if you were allowed to bet,
I still would, think Golden State's the best team.
There's no if Durant comes,
No, I mean, I think
sure
there's ifs, but there's ifs with everyone because if Kevin comes back and isn't quite himself, okay, that's different, but they're still pretty good. If Kevin comes back and they're having those first year blues, looking around, wondering what's happening in a tough game, I don't think that's going to be the case with this team, but that's a factor. But there's factors with every team. Look at every single team. Look at LeBron. Look at the minutes he's logged. Is there a day where it blows up in his face or,
I think it's blowing up. I mean, they don't play defense anymore. And I can't tell if it's because they have too many below average defenders, they just pass the point of no return, or whether
I think it's fatigue and boredom.
That's probably
they might prove to be not a great defensive team this playoffs, but I think they can ramp it way back up. If he's more focused, has a little more rest in between games, he can demand more of his teammates. He's taken on a lot this year. I mean, that's a burden.
You're 14.
Yeah, and just the way he plays and it's how many playoffs, how many finals in a row? Like 6 or something.
6
it's crazy. It's this crazy. So
his next playoff game will be 200, I think, which is awesome.
It's beyond.
As the playoff games are they count as games and a half.
Right. It's beyond that's just unfathomable. I mean, and that's part of the reason why the whole debate. Not to bring up a topic, but about players sitting out games and I just think it's happening. And it's just we're going to go through a 2 or 3 year transition here where the fans are going to be mad about it, and rightfully so. And then we'll get through to the other side, and people accept that that's just the way it is nowadays. And personally, I think that you look at soccer and players sit all the time. Right. You hear coaches in press conference say, "Yeah, he's on fire, but he's in the red now as far as loads, and he's going to sit in the next 2 weeks one of these games." And they play twice a week at most. So. I think it's something that's evolving. We know what we know in science now and about the body and travel and rest and recovery and injury. It's just inevitable. I hate to say it. It sucks for a fan when LeBron comes to LA and doesn't play, but it's just the way it is. And if you're LeBron and you're Cleveland and your goal and your fan base is all built around winning a playoff, championship, not the regular season title, and you're judged. We are look at the media cycle now and how much pressure we put on people. We are judged on winning the NBA Finals or nothing. And so
and then there's the day-to-day cycle too, which is totally different.
So like, and at the end you get crushed if you don't win it all. So it's just the way it is. And especially like we can't have LeBron injured for the finals.
Yeah. I think they should cut back the number of games. I wrote on Friday, I thought 76 was a good number. You're getting rid of one game a month. I remember when you were playing, when we used to text, you'd just be like, schedule loss.
Yeah.
You just knew, like the guys in the team almost know half the time, you can look at the schedule and go, Tuesday, March 13th, fourth game in 5 nights, and we're in Utah. We can't win that game. That would be like superhuman.
Yeah.
That's not good.
It's true. I mean, because I work with the Warriors still, it's, that they're back-to-back. They always play the Spurs on the second night of a road back-to-back. And, like there's all this, there's so many, and the next year could be the opposite, but there's things that you just know where the chips aren't stacked for us and we're in trouble. And so I think there's the schedule. I think 76 would be great. I think it's hopefully doesn't ruin the model. And maybe it makes some games more important, and so you can get it back. But I also think it's going to help that they're cutting out the preseason games by 2 weeks or something and stretching the season. That'll help a lot. Little bits help a lot. Like we don't have the All-Star break is tough because like your All-Stars are getting run around town, doing media and events and stuff.
They're like the president.
It's harder than the season.
Yeah.
In a way. So while the game isn't more, exerting, it's harder than the season.
Does it bother you that they've just thrown away the All-Star game completely? Did you like the All-Star game?
It'll come back. I was never the type because it was a little bit too like
loosey-goosey.
Yeah, loosey-goosey, but it was never my thing. But it'll come back. It goes in cycles, I think. And, we've pushed too far one way now, and it'll come back a little bit.
Quick break to talk about Kabbage. If you're wondering how to get the funding needed to run a small business today, Kabbage has the answer. Kabbage helps small business owners access simple, flexible funding right away without the headaches that come with applying for a traditional loan. Apply online or from your phone by securely linking your business information to get an automatic decision. No waiting in line, no scanning documents, no tracking down financial statements. And once you are approved, you choose when to use your funds and how much to take. You only pay for the funds you actually use. Kabbage has supported over 100,000 small businesses with $2.9 billion in funding. Wow. Visit Kabbage.com/BS. There's no cost to apply or set up your line of credit. And guess what? As a BS podcast listener, when you qualify for funding, you'll get a $100 Visa gift card that you can use anywhere. $100 Visa gift card. Visit Kabbage.com/BS. That's Kabbage with a K. Kabbage.com/BS. Back to Steve Nash. You're a big soccer fan. You're talking about the schedule. Premier League was what, 36 games? 35?
Premier League, I think, is 38.
38?
Yeah.
Which is how something like Leicester City happens. It's like it's the most amazing thing ever. It's like actually it's
even
a 38-game
season.
Yeah. In the NBA, if they had to play an 82-game season, I think stuff would maybe start to even out over the course. But I do like that every game is a signature game. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking like, there's no way it would work. I mean, this is ridiculous. They would never give up the attendance. But it would be really fun if basketball was just twice a week. Yeah. And it was a 50-game schedule, and every time it was everybody just rested at their best.
It'd be interesting, and it'd be interesting because the amount of hype you could put around matchups and how important games could be. I don't know that you could model it out where you'd get enough back. And
you wouldn't.
Because
it doesn't make sense.
Stadiums are only so big, and TV people have other lives and stuff, but it's an interesting thing. I think that's one of the reasons Leicester City could win is because they were in basically – the top teams were all playing Champions League or UEFA.
That's another thing. That's crazy.
And then the FA Cup and then the League Cup. So you add that up, there's, for example, the top teams are playing, or at least starting the season, in 3 other competitions, whereas Leicester started in 2.
Yeah.
And for those top teams, they're putting all their eggs in the basket of the top competition. So, I think that's one factor. I mean, it was a perfect storm, but it is crazy that how many games soccer players actually play, and then they only get a 6-week break, and that doesn't include the guys who have to play for their country.
See, I would change a lot if I was the soccer czar. First of all, I'd have a World Cup every 3 years. The 4-year thing drives me crazy. It's like, why? And the Women's World Cup should be every 2 years. Like they don't really have anything else.
Right.
They should be running that back all the time. But I I've only gotten into soccer like the last 8 years. It is astounding to me that they have such a short regular season, but then at the same time, Barcelona, it's February, and they have this Champions League game, and then they have to worry about their 2 division games. Like in the NBA, that would never happen.
No.
It'd be like the Warriors are playing the Spurs today, and then on Saturday they're playing AC Milan in Italy. It's like, what? Right. They would never do that.
Right. And you can get caught in points of the season where you have that congestion. You have so many games and so many big games. I mean, you'll see them a couple of years ago. Didn't they play like Madrid 3 times in like 9 days for 3 like trophies, basically, like the league, the cup, and the Champions League, or something? Like stuff like that can happen. So I get it. Like these models are there, and people make a ton of money, but that's why the sport of soccer and basketball, but soccer is getting so young. Like you just need guys that can run at such speeds for so long.
What about our 18-year-old on America?
He's amazing.
Are you a Canadian citizen or American citizen? This might be the one that pushes you to become an American citizen. This is by far the best American player we've ever had.
Yeah.
It's one of the rare things that I feel like it's not a big enough deal yet. We've never had a guy who can go downhill at half speed and then turn it on and go 9 directions, and the way he passes.
Watching him play, you'd expect him to play for Argentina or Spain. Or, he's that good.
Or like he's Messi's protege or something.
Yeah, I mean, he's that good that he's that clever, that he can play that quickly of mind and foot.
And stop and slow it down. And he has patience with 2 defenders around him. And
in every sport, it's space and time and his ability to slow the game down in your mind.
We've never had a guy in America who can do that.
And we've had some good players. Clint Dempsey's a terrific player.
They're great, but not even like this.
But this is the level he's playing at. I don't think for him to have the impact he's had in the Champions League at 18, I don't know that an American's ever had that impact. Maybe like John O'Brien was at Ajax and had some success years ago and was a fantastic player, but injuries and stuff cut his career short. But this kid's already having a major impact at a top 10 team in the world in the Champions League. I mean, he's 18.
And in the last 2 qualifiers, I think he had.
He just looks like he's
a
the
goal
best
and
player.
5 assists or something.
Looks like the best player on the field, and he's like, it's his first.
It once again proves that the old argument about what basketball players would be great soccer players, it's really, you have to look at like Isaiah Thomas and people like that. It's the lower to the ground guys.
Sure.
I think Pulisic's probably 5'9", 5'10"?
I think that's generous.
Maybe 5'8"?
Yeah.
And Messi's like 5'7".
Maybe.
5'6". Yeah. To me, it's although I still think Westbrook on a soccer field, if he had been doing it from day one, would have been
interesting.
Like, he would have been like Suarez multiplied by 5.
You've seen Pogba play.
Yeah.
Paul Pogba, long. He's about, 6'3", 6'4". He's long, physical, but he's also, great vision and great feet. So and Ibrahimovic, 6'4", huge feet. But
well, what if Sean Marion had been a goalie from day one?
Yeah, he would have been pretty tough to get it by.
If he's like from age 6, he's just in a net.
Yeah.
Plus, he was kind of a quirky guy, and goalies are quirky. I actually think he would have been a good goalie.
He didn't love contact, though.
Oh, that's bad.
I don't know. Maybe it would have been fun.
Goalies have to be okay
I think
with
about those
concussion.
like on corners and stuff. We have to come out in a crowd and demand the box. But
who would have been the best goalie out of basketball?
He could have been. He could have jumped so high over everyone there would have been no contact.
Right.
If he had, but
how about Raja?
I think it was Raja would have had no problem.
He would have loved the contact.
He would have had no problem coming out for the ball. But he'd been kicking out of bounds for corners.
Yeah.
But I think that I think it was David James, played in the Premier League and played for England, goalkeeper. He wanted to do a TV show where he took, and I'm not sure if he ever did it, he took ex-American college basketball players and tried to teach them to be goalies. And he was like trying to get that kind of 6'4" to 6'6" athlete.
Yeah.
That, didn't make it in basketball, but was still athletic and long and could understand sports and convert them. I think that's fascinating.
You need great hands, and you need the ability to jump from side to side.
Awareness,
total coordination, and you'd have to be a crazy person, because I think goalies have to be a little crazy.
A little bit. So, anyways, I think that's a cool show concept. I mean, at least
that's
for maybe an audience of one.
No, I think, because think about it in football, they turn college basketball players into tight ends all the time, and it's become like this talent pool for for tight ends.
Well,
for goalies, it would make more sense.
Who are the best tight ends of all time?
I mean, you could argue Rob Gronkowski's probably the best one, but he wasn't.
Okay, but Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah, Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates.
Both, they were top 5.
Yeah.
And
they played hoops.
And they both played hoops. I mean,
who is it, Tate? Who's the other one who got converted?
Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham?
Yeah.
Who's the one? There's a younger guy now, too. There's a bunch. There's
Yeah,
at least
there's
5 or 6.
Thomas?
Yeah, Julius Thomas was one.
Yeah.
There's one other younger one.
So, I mean, that's interesting. I wonder what other converts we could make in crossing sports.
This is a game. All right, so we're going to do this. This will be one of our first reality shows.
There you go.
We'll go to all these different colleges.
Think of other sports where it translates or athleticism translates. I mean, football's such a specialty sport.
Yeah.
You can find a position arguably for a soccer player. You can play kicker.
Do you think it's weird that soccer players have never crossed over and just become field goal kickers on the side? It can't be that different.
No,
could you? What's the farthest you kick a field goal? If you practice for 3 weeks.
I don't know. I'm not like a huge. I don't know that would be my strength, anyways. But I don't know. I wonder if guys it just doesn't appeal to them to just kick field goals, and they'd rather
just kick.
What does a kicker make these days?
Probably not as much as they would make playing soccer.
I mean, obviously not as much as they make soccer. Would they make as much as they'd make?
You make a couple million a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
I think Vinatieri's making like $4 or $5 million a year.
Yeah, it's like 4.3 is the highest Gostkowski.
What's the minimum?
Minimum's got to be
Okay.
It's gonna be like, oh, you might do it. Now you're thinking about it. You sure?
Not I. But
get out there.
I'm trying to think what would I incentivize some of these guys to go do that.
One last bit to talk about SoFi. If you've worked hard to get the career you want, SoFi's here to offer easy savings on the student loans that helped you get there. If you've taken out student loans to invest in yourself and your career, SoFi wants to help out. Attending college and following your passions is an investment, as we know, but with student debt, it can be quite the burden. SoFi is in the business of helping you pay off student debt faster. It's the leader in student loan refinancing. It refinances federal and private student loans to save its members an average of $22,359 total. Average monthly savings of $288. Here's how it works. Depending on your eligibility, SoFi pays all of your existing student loans. It gives you one new loan with a lower interest rate, no origination fees, no catch. It's a fast and easy application process. SoFi's support team, also a phone call away if you need it. The idea is simple. You've worked hard to get where you are. SoFi wants to help you focus less on debt, more on the future. Right now, you can get a $100 welcome bonus when you refinance at SoFi.com/BS. Terms and conditions apply. See SoFi.com legal. Loans originated by SoFi Lending Corp. California Finance Lender Law License number 6054612. NMLS ID number 1121636. Back to Steve Nash. We got to talk about your old friend Dirk.
Yeah.
He's still going.
Yeah.
I don't understand this anymore. This should be over. He's 7 feet tall and he's been playing for 20 years.
Too.
Yeah.
Like
they go to him at the end of games and he scores on guys who are 15 years younger than him.
I know, it's amazing.
I don't understand it. Explain it to me.
I don't understand it. He knows he knows his space. He knows how to. Sometimes I think his feet and his body have gone to the stage where like he has to kind of almost force a shot, but sometimes he's still able with his just ability to get a guy off balance or leaning or overcommit. He's so good at finding his little pocket to get his shot off.
It helps that he's 7 feet tall.
Of course. You couldn't do it if you're 6'4".
Yeah.
But he has that gift and he has that know-how. And some nights it's got to be really painful for him. He probably can't move that well. And other nights he looks pretty spry for an aging player. And it's incredible. Would you, if your body hadn't given up on you, would you have just kept going until it gave up, or would you? Yeah, I would have. I would have played until I wasn't effective, and that's basically what happened because of the injuries. I just couldn't. I'd have flashes, I'd have practices, I'd have game where I'd be like, "Wow, I feel great, I look great, everything's good," and then I couldn't recover, and just that, that diminishing returns. You put all that work, and you're not effective. That's no fun. So that would have been it. If I had kept playing at an effective rate and level, I would have probably played for a few more years. But defend Dwight Howard for me. In what way? Which record?
the last 6 years he's gone to teams and it just seems like they don't do as well until he leaves.
I mean, the two things I will say is that the game's changed, and if you're not fleet of foot in the middle, which he's not anymore, I don't think. He's not mobile like he was when he was younger.
It's easier to get him in trouble.
Get him in trouble defensively, and then, I think he's not the same physically as he was. He's not as mobile, and that affects him. And one, I think it affects his ability offensively regardless, but also in today's game where it's so, the returns just aren't there for post-up play.
Yeah.
It's just not. Like, guys can cheat in the lane, crowd it up, and make it difficult. So in essence, you got a guy pounding on you, you got other guys making it crowded and hedging their bets and making you second guess, and you're going to get a jump hook over someone. You know what I mean? Because guys will come to you if you get too deep. It's just the game. There's just not a lot of returns on post-up play anymore. And
Greg Monroe is the test case for this because he's about as old school of a post-up guy as you get. And he kills the Celtics. Because the Celtics, the one weakness they have, which doesn't even matter in today's NBA, is the physical post-up player. They just can't keep them away from the rim. But for the most part, the good defensive teams can just that's it. And and he's not effective.
I mean, it's just changed so much. I mean, even like just centers and like how talented Boogie Cousins is and how small the market was for him.
Yeah.
And he still gets big numbers, but does he have the impact on the game? That's the thing. And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
It would seem like the 2005 Amari is the model for what you want from your center. The guy who can be 18 feet from the basket, set you a pick, and either he's rolling or they're like in there.
Yeah.
And that's basketball now.
I wouldn't even say that. I wouldn't say that because I'd say nowadays you'd have to be either have deeper range or be a better defender. Amari was just so brilliant.
So you think Amari would have to shoot threes now?
He was so brilliant at catching and finishing that he would have played in any generation. But nowadays, what I'm saying is that you can have a guy that is not a good roller at all, but he can stretch a little bit and he can cover a little bit on pick and rolls. Yeah. And you make it up elsewhere rather than having a guy that can really play in that position, but kind of screws your team because the way we play nowadays isn't conducive to that type of player. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Basically it's somebody like Nerlens, which made me mad when Dallas got Nerlens for 50 cents in the dollar. That type of center and Clint Capella and the guys like that. Like DeAndre's shooting 71% this year from the field. And it's because they don't post them up. Because Doc's like, we're not ever running a play for you. All you're getting are alley-oops and offensive rebounds. And that's a really good use of him. That was something Dwight never totally figured out. He just should have been the best version ever of DeAndre.
And it's a shame because he committed to that more so in Orlando. They went to the finals. Yeah. And then after that, he was, at the exact time that the post-up game was becoming archaic, he insisted on being a post-up player. Yeah. I think that really hurt him as well. Instead of the game being easier for him and him getting easier looks or his value being bigger because he was rolling down the lane, sucking the defense in and making his team better and therefore giving him opportunities later to get rolls or to get offensive rebounds. He really wanted to prove that he was a post-up player, and it's like right at the exact time it went out of fashion analytically and by the way coaches want to play as well.
Which offense are you the most jealous of that you wish you could come back from a time machine 12 years ago and just go into it?
I love the way the Warriors play. I mean, the ball moves quickly and it's not as much pick and roll as I would have liked, but I also never played with guys that could pass like that. So it would have been nice to be the beneficiary. Like I took very little spot up shots in my years in Phoenix. Never got it back like that. I also didn't get many like back cut layups or things, and so that's to me is fascinating, and to watch them move the ball and run. This pick and roll is the hardest thing to cover. They have they have arguably some of the best pick and roll players, and they kind of in a way run less pick and roll by far than what they could, and than other teams. It's fascinating because they move and share and
they also run those little leaks that are like. Clay seems like he's going to set a pick, and then he just darts back and he's shooting all of a sudden. I've never seen that before. That's new.
I think a lot of that stuff is just reading the defense and playing cat and mouse. So, back in the Utah days, they ran the splits, and then the triangle ran the splits. We throw in the post, and you have two guards come together and split. But, when you're coming at full speed, you have a good passer with the ball, and you have the two best shooters in the world coming together, There's
Yeah.
a lot of opportunity to make mistakes. And so they know that. And they know that if they're switching or if they're staying at home, and then they just started adjusting and put you in difficult positions.
Would you have paid attention to all this advanced metric stuff that we have now when you played? Because it really started the last 4 or 5 years
Yeah, it started
ago.
late in my career. I thought it was interesting. I would have paid attention to it. I would evolved with it as it grew. I would have listened to it. And at the same time, I still think a huge part of basketball is personalities and how they mix together.
I agree.
And so for me, that's we haven't quantified that yet, and I don't know that we ever will.
Guess what? We're not going to.
So,
we quantify it with wins
right.
and losses.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I always hold on to the fact that it's not everything. It's a tool and it's useful, and I think it gives us a lot of good data and a lot of good ideas. But
It helps us understand some of what we're watching.
sure,
But
the whole thing can't be an algorithm. It just can't.
well, I mean, the 2010 Suns are a good example.
Hmm.
Team probably shouldn't have been as good as it was,
Right.
but the pieces, everyone played well together. The pieces fit. You had
Yeah.
guys at the right points of their career who understood what was going
Sure.
on.
I think we were picked out of the playoffs that year, preseason.
You should have been. Yeah, I mean, I remember thinking it was, what's going to
Yeah.
happen with Nash? You weren't even a free agent yet. I think you had signed another deal.
I think
And it was like, oh, man,
left.
poor Nash, he's going to be stuck. And all of a sudden, you guys were really good. But it was because everybody meshed. I think the Celtics are both advanced metric friendly, but also a team that doesn't make sense. Not very good rebounding. They play 3-4 guards at the same time sometimes, but they play well together.
So that's an example of personalities. That one personality, two, they have some gritty guys.
Yes,
know,
competitors.
Without that, they're a soft jump shooting team.
Right.
But they have some gritty guys that get deflections and steals and
Chip on the shoulder guys.
Chip on the shoulder, and I think although Isaiah's small, he has a chip. Smart has a chip.
Jay Crowder does.
Crowder has a
Bradley
chip.
does.
Yep. So you got Bradley. So you got a group of guys that make up for a lot of things by their personality.
Horford didn't have a chip because we gave him $30 million a year. But then he had 2 weeks where he wasn't putting up rebounds, and everyone, because Boston, it's 24/7. Like, oh, Al Horford, that contract sucks. Yeah. Now he's a maniac. It was like the Boston, all that stuff kind of got him going. Now he's like flying around like a crazy person. I think Washington is the danger to them because it's probably the second round opponent, and it's just a bad matchup with the Wall and Beal combo. I think Washington's kind of for me, it's the sleeper. I don't know what to make of Toronto because I don't know if Kyle Lowry's coming back. But Washington is the one that scares me. They just ran Cleveland off the court on Saturday night.
Yeah. No, they're good. I mean, as you know, in the playoffs and in every sport, but I think it's about finding your stride. And I think Washington's starting to find some real belief that they could cause some problems. And
yeah.
So I think
Beal's really good.
He's good. He's good. They're both very good, and they're gaining momentum and confidence, and that's dangerous.
What are you doing for the Warriors? Just consulting?
Yeah, basically, yes. I'm just basically a resource. So, I go up and try to spend 3 days a month with them. But other than that, I'm just here if they want me to look at something or deal with something, and just a resource for anyone that coaches or players that
Steph seems like he'd be in your wheelhouse as somebody to talk hoops with and all that stuff.
He's a great guy and great to talk hoops with. At the same time, there's not a lot to coach the guy on.
Yeah, sure.
He's got it dialed. So,
hey, Steph, ever thought about shooting a 32-foot three instead of a 31-foot three?
Yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal to be associated with a great organization. I love Steve Kerr, love the culture he's built. So it's one of those things where I'm happy to be involved in the game still. I love my time there and want more of it, and I don't have more time. So it's kind of like this kind of frustrating but kind of perfect scenario for me.
So would you ever want to go all in and run a team or anything, or down the road?
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, right now I'm I really love waking up with my kids, taking them getting them fed, getting them to school, picking them up after school, being an Uber driver for the next 4 or 5 hours, and getting
we're
them to bed.
chauffeurs.
Yeah, exactly.
Parents are chauffeurs.
And I really value that, and that part of their life, that impressionable stage of their life is going to go, and you never get it back. And so for me, I've worked and put myself in a position where I can still work and do things, but I can do them on my terms and still have that. So right now I'm still really, really valuing that over changing my lifestyle and losing that, even though some of the opportunities that I could have are really exciting.
Are any of your kids playing youth soccer?
My one daughter played club last couple of years, but I think that's going to be it. It was just crazy, You have so she's in club volleyball now, both of them.
Oh.
I mean, the clubs that gets the monetization of sports, you have to choose at 12 or younger.
That's what I was going to ask you.
It's
How
frustrating.
would you fix the youth sports scene?
I
hate it. My daughter's basically all soccer now, and she's not even 12 yet, and it bothers me. It just sucks.
It does, and I think it's you can't. I don't know that you can change it. It's like, and basically, what it looks like to me is like it's monetization. The club says, if I can have this kid for 11 months, I can charge him $2,500 or $4,500 or whatever it is for the year, instead of sharing it with volleyball, soccer, baseball, whatever it is. And so it's someone saying, look, this is the way our business model works, but. I think that's why some of the MRIs are tough when you look at our young guys coming in the league, because they've been on the same roller coaster tracks for 15 years already. Whereas, other eras, guys were cross training, playing different sports, which I also think gave you a lot. I think the parents that, try to specialize early and try to, buy the 10,000 hours, it's a mistake. I think some kids obviously are going to get through, but for me, it's about a kid's love for the sport. And one way to keep them loving it is to have them play other sports.
So here's the frustrating part to this, because I 100% agree with you, but these kids now, and I even include my daughter in this, where they're good at one sport and they don't want, they mess around with the second sport and they're not the best at it, and there's kids that are better and they lose confidence, and it's almost like everybody's so afraid to fail now. That's been frustrating for me as a parent. I don't know. My daughter played basketball on her school team, and she was the second best player on the team. They lost in the finals. She felt like it was her fault, and she didn't never practice. And it's like, it's fine. Yeah. You're 11. Yeah. You made the finals. This is great.
Tell her to come talk to me. Lost a few games in my day. So.
Yeah. But it seems like people either want to be, they're all in. Agree. They can't just casually do anything.
Right. And it gets frustrating. You have to commit to a sport, and if you miss a sport or you don't play well, you feel like you're not going to make it the next year, and everything's about results instead of like development and enjoyment. And
these academy teams now, when you hit like 12, 13 in LA in the Southern California, and they're playing 4 3-hour practices a week, and then they have tournaments on the weekends. They're playing 3-4 games a weekend.
And like, I don't remember having the amount of homework my kids have in the 6th grade. Like, how do they, like, their time is like, they're not just out on the street playing
and they're slime. That's another thing. Everyone's got slime.
I banned that. I told them there's a lot of carcinogens, so it's not allowed in my house, which is
Well, do you see what happened? So slime, for people who don't know, I don't know if it's Southern California or everywhere, but all these kids ages 3rd to like 7th grade are making slime out of like borax and
that's
glue.
what it was. So I was like, no more of that.
So here's what happened. And it's terrible, but somebody got 3rd-degree burns from making it the wrong way, and all the parents now are forwarding around like, this is what happens. So hopefully slime is going to die.
Let's hope it's gone.
It seems like it was one of the worst ideas ever. I was in my daughter's bedroom 2 weeks ago, and there's this big borax bottle, and I'm like,
that's not a good
borax
look.
in your room? Like, what is this?
Not good.
Slime.
Slime's the worst. I don't get it. Like we got in a fight the other day about something, and she's like, "Well, you took away my slime," like it was some therapeutic measure. I was like, "Just
what's happened to society?
Relax."
I've been in Canada; they don't have slime.
I hope not. It's
two quick questions, and we're going. Freeze. 2020 Olympic, the Canadian team. Are we in good shape?
Could be. I mean, for sure. I mean, I think we have the second most NBA players now to the U.S.
Tibbs put a lot of minutes on Wiggins. You have talked to Tibbs.
He did.
Wiggins is headed for 3,000 minutes. Hey, Tibbs, slow down. You're not making the playoffs.
He should be okay for 2020, but his career could be over by 2024.
Slow down, Tibbs.
But, I think those guys, if they take pride, this is a generation, so I don't know if the Olympics means as much anymore.
It should for the Canadians. They've never even made the
I know, but like
medal.
But it's your peer groups and your like your circle on Instagram and Snapchat. Do they care about the Olympics or do they?
Well, it's like what we just talked about with youth sports. I don't want to go. We're going to lose. It'll be embarrassing.
Sure, yeah. So
you got Wiggins, Tristan Thompson.
Yep. Corey Joseph, Stauskas, Olynyk.
Nice stretch 5 for the Olympics.
Yeah.
Anthony Bennett didn't work out.
Anthony Bennett,
can we save him?
We'll see. He could come back in the fold. We could have Tyler Ennis. We'll see what happens with him.
I'm not giving up on Tyler Ennis yet.
No, and there's I don't know where these guys will stack up, but Andrew Nicholson and some of these guys that are still in the league, and in the international game, they can stretch and shoot.
So Wiggins, Olynyk, high screens.
A lot of that. The other one we have the best, is he freshman or 10th grader in the country right now? RJ Barrett.
Oh, that's good. Why don't you make a deal with LeVar Ball to get them dual Canadian U.S. citizenship?
I don't even think they're American. They're just Los Angeles citizens. He doesn't want them to play anywhere else.
They belong to the country of Los Angeles. Yeah. Last question, soccer. Give me your top 3 right now. Players? Yeah.
I mean, I think you kind of have to put Ronaldo in there.
See, everybody says it that way. We don't say that with basketball where we're like disappointed. It's like, I guess we have to put LeBron 1.
Yeah.
And with Ronaldo, it's always, I guess Ronaldo.
I don't think I don't know. I feel like maybe I've swung the other way. It's like the MVP race. I think it says more about you and our personalities collectively than it does about the actual players.
Right.
So part of me is like, maybe Ronaldo's not necessarily my favorite guy, and so I don't rate him as highly as he should, but I think in some ways, if I were to knock him, I'd say he's at times benefits from playing on such a great team, whereas I think Messi's team would struggle without him. Having said that, Ronaldo's been unbelievable for a long, long time. So
he's basically LeBron, right? Everybody's just picking him apart every year.
He's what he's been able to accomplish and the things he's done, but he's not the type of guy who's going to pick the ball up, dribble through the team anymore, and score like Messi can, or like he could have done 10 years ago. But he still has changed his game and adapted and gets in the right spots to finish, and his numbers are staggering.
Strong hair game.
The guy physically, he's going to do all right. Friday night he'll be fine. But
so Ronaldo won.
Messi to me though is number 1. He's the best player to ever play the game.
Okay.
For me, best player to ever play the game. Like I know in Argentina they love Maradona, but Maradona played in an era where guys smoked cigarettes at halftime, and half the guys were stayed in South America.
Right.
Whereas nowadays there's like over 200 Brazilians in the Champions League, and you could probably say the same for Argentina almost. And you're playing against track stars every day in a congested fixture schedule, and every game is worth so much and seen so far around the world. And what he's able to do under those parameters is off the charts. And Thierry Henry tells a story about one day in practice. I've been to a Barcelona practice before, and they'll play like 11 aside, like a full game, but on half a field, full goal and everything. And even in that half a field, the 20 players, excluding the goalies, will be within 15 yards, like the lines of the two defense. They're all bunched up, right? And it's like just this unbelievable speed of thought and ability, and the way they tic-tac and play in those tight spaces. But apparently one day, and we're talking about when this happened, they were the best team in the world and arguably one of the best teams ever. Messi looked to the coach for a foul, didn't get it, was pissed, ran back to his goalie when his goalie got the ball and said, basically like tin cup, like ball. Gets the ball, dribbles through basically 20 players, scores, and stares at the coach. I mean, it's so unheard of. Like, that's not even, like, Jordan couldn't even, like, you can't, you know what I mean? There's not even an equivalence in basketball. So for me, he's the best player to ever play the game.
He does the two things he does better than anyone I've ever seen are when he's in front of somebody and they're trying to catch him from behind and you could just get tripped at any time. He has a way of dancing over the trips and they never actually trip him.
Yeah.
And then his ability when he's going by somebody to hop over their feet and like nothing ever happened. I've just never seen anybody do stuff like that. It's like a ballerina.
Yep, and that's why guys are so. I mean, one way to kind of explain it is when he's running at you, he's so low to the ground and he's small and he uses it to his advantage and quick. He puts his feet down more than you do. So as you're picking yours up, he's gone the other way, or fakes the other way. You're trying to recover and you recover again, and he's gone. I mean, he's just.
What basketball players like that?
Man,
it's a little bit of. I mean, they're totally different, but a little bit of what it seems like it would be to guard James Harden. When
a little bit,
you're going backwards and you don't know how to.
Yeah, a little bit, but I think the in overall ability, but I think that that's true in transition, but I think it's more like the water bug, like
quick feet thing.
If Isaiah Thomas got the ball, he's coming at you full head of steam at the top of the key, from his own foul line.
True.
Not a lot going to happen,
you have no idea which way he's going.
Or pull up, and you're kind of like, oh wow, there he goes again. So I think that's kind of the same analogy, but obviously it's he's able
they don't call Isaiah anymore for the push-off, which has helped his 30 points a game. When did they stop calling you for the push-offs?
Great,
like 2006.
Great.
Did you have to win the MVP first?
Probably. I think it was after my second.
When did you realize you could push off on the drives?
You know what I did? I learned from Kevin Johnson was when a guy went to hand check you, like grab his arm.
Oh.
So it was like whenever you'd reach to get a little hand check in, he would grab, like a martial arts almost, grab your hand and pull you the way you're going.
That sounds like Donald Trump's handshakes. When he goes to handshake somebody, he pulls them in and knocks them off balance.
Let's not even go there. But,
so you do so you would pull.
So if a guy reached and you either swiped his hand, like so he's reaching towards you, you just keep his hand going behind you. You know what I mean? So he's coming even farther towards you as you're going by him. That was kind of.
Did you feel like you got superstar calls at the end?
Not
Once
really.
you became a superstar, you never felt it?
Not really.
Because Westbrook now is the all-time, just gets everything.
No,
it's like he goes into traffic, he's getting a call.
I never really felt that at all, actually. But
you went the other way. You felt like you weren't getting enough calls.
I never really wanted, like, don't give me calls, but like sometimes I felt like I could have gotten a call and I didn't get it.
But there were times when you would drive into the basket of a big guy and you're just bouncing off them, trying to get the layup up and trying to get the three-point play.
Yeah, there's a lot of times, though, that they didn't care. I think maybe I wasn't that explosive, and they would just be like, no. Keep begging.
So you have Messi 1, Ronaldo 2, and Pulisic 3.
I would love to see him be 3. I would love to see
Ronaldo
him be
2A, Pulisic 2B.
I think Neymar's.
So Neymar to me he's like the Mark Messier /
come again?
I don't even know. In hockey, like Marc Messier
as a sidekick.
Was the gamer.
Okay.
He was the quote-unquote sidekick, but he wasn't. Mm-hmm. And in the big games would rise to the occasion, and you could really rely on him. I don't even know if there's an NBA equivalent of that, because in the NBA, everyone's a superstar. But Neymar, like in the French game, Neymar played the best 7 minutes of soccer I've ever seen in my life.
He was actually great the whole game. And I think that's sometimes what people – I think his detractors sometimes don't realize like how hard it is to play against top teams and to want the ball and to constantly try to go by someone.
Yeah.
Like he even the pressure, the playing great teams, he's still just continually trying to take someone on, which, if he gets tackled 50 times and the one time he gets by someone and gets it across the face of goal and hits someone and goes in, you win.
Yeah.
So like his ability to continually like never lose his confidence, never lose that will to beat someone off the dribble. I mean that he's in that PSG game when they had basically 10 guys in front of their 18-yard box. He still tried to go every time. Yeah. And I respect him as a winner and a battler and a fighter, like to say like, I'm going, because if we can't just keep lofting the ball in, we got to try to beat somebody before we make a pass into that area. And so he did have that 7 minutes, but I actually left because when we were on vacation, when PSG got the away goal, I was like, forget it. My wife was like, how long is this game? I was like, all right, we can go now. And so I missed the 7 minutes, and I already left thinking, man, Neymar was unbelievable today. Like, attacked every time, was so much. He got fouled 100 times. So he's up there. He's closing the gap on Messi in a way, but Messi's just out of this world.
Neymar's my favorite. My favorite
he's one of my favorite ever athletes in like the way he moves. His ability to like move is so graceful, fast. His balance, his coordination, his creativity. I mean, he's just one of the most beautiful athletes I've ever seen.
You know what else I like is he's got a little FU in him.
For sure. He wouldn't be where he is.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be in the top 3 if he didn't.
He'll take someone down once in a while just because he's mad at something, and it's like, all right, I'm gonna take this guy out. I'm mad.
Being a Tottenham fan, I think the same of Dele Alli. I don't know if you've watched him. Unbelievable young player, and he just on the edge of being sometimes, too much. He's got so much confidence, but he's also got like that, like I don't care who you are. We can just start fighting right now and I'll beat you up, like kind of thing for like a skinny 20-year-old.
Can you imagine if Draymond was a soccer player?
Oh,
There'd be some red cards.
There'd be some reds. Yeah.
Draymond's team's down 2-0. Oh, God, somebody's rolling around on the ground. What happened?
The ball's over there.
Draymond on a corner kick, just taking out dudes.
He'd have been an old school center back.
He did it yesterday
for sure.
to Beverly. Did you see that?
No, missed it.
Beverly was getting a little frisky, so Draymond just laid him out on a pick, and Beverly loved it. He got up. Draymond and Beverly are going to be the Third World War if it ever happens.
They're soulmates.
When it happens, that's it. Everyone's going to have to run out of the arena as they fight to the death.
I love it.
You want to plug your charity soccer thing?
Yeah. This is our 10th year. Steve Nash Foundation Showdown charity soccer game in New York City. June 21st.
It's usually the week before the draft.
It's the night before the draft every year.
Oh, great.
Yeah, night before the draft. It's a 7-a-side soccer game on the Lower East Side. NBA players and international soccer stars. We've had, unbelievable crew of guys over the years. Thierry Henry, Robbie Fowler, Steve McManaman, Zanetti, Cordoba, Giuseppe Rossi comes every year. Go down the line. We've had some unbelievable players.
Can you get Pulisic?
I think that would be huge.
I would take him under your wing right now.
Yeah,
has he ever seen a basketball game? You just got to reach out to him.
What I'll say to him is, this can be your game if you come this year for the 10th anniversary.
I'll put your name in the title.
Yeah, it'll be yours forevermore.
Just get in on him early.
That would be huge if we can get him.
Who was the best NBA player that's ever been in that game? In terms of how good they were at soccer.
Yeah, I think like Luol Deng, Leandro Barbosa.
Luol Deng? I would have guessed Barbosa.
Yeah, those two are.
Is Barbosa just going to play until he's 50 because he's such a good guy? People want him on the team?
I think so.
Is he like the ultimate example of that?
How old is LB now?
I think he's my age. He's like 47.
He could play a while, and he loves it.
Dudley's another one. Dudley will play till as long as he wants. He's and then he'll move into that Juwan Howard assistant coach, good guy role.
He'd be great at that.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get a media gig, he loves his media too.
I know. I got to have him on soon.
I
get jealous.
He must be great.
Other
he
things.
must be great. Yeah,
he's good. I've had him on. He's good. He's getting better too. All right, Steve Nash. It was a pleasure.
It's fun. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to T-Mobile. Don't forget, baseball season's coming up. They're giving a free year of MLB.TV Premium. That's an almost $113 value, absolutely free, only for T-Mobile customers. Unlimited data. That means unlimited baseball. Download the T-Mobile Tuesdays app from the App Store. On April 4th, you get your free year of MLB.TV Premium in that T-Mobile Tuesdays app, or go to T-Mobile.com/MLB. Blackouts and other restrictions apply. See terms of use for details. And thanks so much to Cabbage. They help small business owners access simple, flexible funding right away without the headaches that come with applying for a traditional loan. It's a simple way for businesses to get flexible access to up to $100,000. Visit cabbage.com/BS, and you'll get a $100 Visa gift card when you qualify. That is KABBAGE.com/BS. Don't forget, I'm on Channel 33 with the Reese Witherspoon podcast. If you love Reese Witherspoon, I'll listen to that one. Me, Amanda, and Juliet. And also, the Masked Man Show is doing WrestleMania all week. I think I'm going on that one on Friday, too. And we have another BS podcast coming up on Friday with a famous person. Steve Nash is a famous person. Another famous person. And good conversation coming on Friday. I would mark this one on your calendar. Until then, the BS podcast.